Single mom unexpectedly discovers incredible opportunity after falling asleep on CEO's shoulder. As Sarah settled into her chair at the corporate seminar, fatigue crashed over her like a wave. The chilly conference room buzzed with ambition and technology, a stark contrast to the grease-stained diner counter that comprised her daily world. Balancing a plate of pancakes on one hand while breaking up a spat between two regulars had become second nature, but here, in this glass-walled hotel, she felt out of place yet hopeful. The audacity of dreaming beyond the diner. It was intoxicating. She leaned back, eyes heavy, and the world around her faded into the soothing hum of corporate jargon. When she jolted awake, piercing embarrassment flooded her as she realized her head had been resting on the shoulder of Tom, the charismatic CEO. Mortified, she caught his smirk, a spark of humor in his eyes instead of annoyance. Their worlds couldn't be more different, yet he saw her a single mother, a waitress, a hard worker. For a fleeting moment, the corporate coldness faded, replaced by an absurd connection that sent her heart racing. Tom's laughter flowed over her unease, igniting the spark of curiosity. Did he see something in her, something beyond the apron and order pads, something she had long buried? Days trickled by in the whirlwind of new encounters with Tom. Coffee breaks turned into heartfelt discussions over the realities of aspirations amid the backdrop of spreadsheets and boring corporate jargon. The passion for uplifting workplaces through character and values resonated with her. Yet, as admiration blossomed, so did a lurking sense of inadequacy. Emily's future loomed large over her, whispering doubts into her ear. Could a tech career even fit into a life that revolved around midnight shifts and school runs? She hesitated, navigating between yearning for more and fearing the unknown. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue maxing out her mental bandwidth. She spent late nights decoding snippets of code, piecing them together like a puzzle. The thrill ignited a longing, yet with it came fear. What if the tech world was as ruthless as any other? What kind of example would she set for Emily, whose bright spirit thrived on honesty? When whispered scandal about Tom's firm began circulating, a weight settled in her gut. Loyalty wrestled with ambition as doubts clawed at her. Could she trust him, or was he merely another cutthroat in a tailored suit? The walls began to close in around her. Should she sacrifice this glimpse of a future for the steadfast values she pushed onto Emily? The stakes climbed relentlessly as Sarah unearthed unsettling truths tied to the scandal. Power and integrity warred within her, each option brimming with sacrifice. As she stood before her unearthed fork in the road, heart thudding, the doorbell abruptly echoed through her cramped apartment. Could this echo carry the answer to her turmoil, or did it signal yet another twist in a life already too complicated? Sarah hesitated, heart pounding, as the doorbell's chime echoed through the tiny hall of her cramped apartment. Who could it be? The weight of her recent revelations clung to her like a shroud. With a determined breath, she walked to the door, each step ushering a mix of trepidation and hope. Of flipping the lock, she pulled the door open to reveal Marcy, her best friend and confidant, clutching a toddler-sized backpack emblazoned with cartoon characters. Emily stood behind her, shyly peeking out with wide eyes. Relief washed over Sarah, a welcome distraction from her turbulent thoughts. Guess who's ready for her first playdate? Marcy beamed, her effervescence cutting through the tension in the air. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Sarah knelt down to secure her daughter's shoes. Marcy had become her constant reminder of the support system she desperately needed but often overlooked. Thanks for bringing her. I could use the time, Sarah said, trying to suppress the panic brewing just beneath her surface. As Emily scampered off with Marcy to the nearby park, the apartment felt emptier but somehow lighter. Alone, Sarah's thoughts turned inward, a maelstrom of what-ifs swirling around her. With one frantic motion, she grabbed her laptop and pulled up the coding exercises she'd been working on. It had started as a simple challenge, a way to kill time between shifts, but it had morphed into a larger ambition. What am I really capable of? The thought echoed, nagging at her. She began typing, the sporadic clack of the keyboard punctuating the silence. Each line of code built her confidence, piece by piece, like bricks forming a wall against her insecurities. And yet, the doubts remained steadfast. Could she really break away from her diner life? Was there a place for someone like her in the tech world, especially one that seemed to be mired in scandals? Moments passed where clarity flickered like a candle's flame. An email popped up, catching her eye. Tom had reached out with an offer to mentor her, suggesting they meet the following week. The chance to learn directly from him felt like both an opportunity and a risk. Was trusting him wise? Could her admiration survive the shadows of the controversy surrounding his company? Tension knotted in her chest. She was aware that decisions made in desperation often led to mistakes, but what if this was her chance to leap into something greater? Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she weighed her options. Should she meet him and leverage this opportunity, or isolate herself in fear? In an impulsive spark, she typed a response accepting his invitation and pressed send. Almost immediately, a wave of both panic and exhilaration coursed through her. The weight of the decision pushed her back in her chair, and she closed her eyes, the adrenaline coursing through her veins. With Emily back home and asleep in her room, the quiet enveloped her, leaving her alone with her thoughts. What was she willing to risk for freedom, for growth? The urgency of a looming decision pressed against her. She needed to determine what kind of legacy she wanted to build for Emily. As the clock ticked, Sarah pondered her next move. The door had opened, but which path would she tread? A deep breath filled her lungs. She had to confront the turbulence ahead. And then there came another knock. The door she'd just closed in her mind rattled once more, forcing her to question everything she thought she knew. It was time to confront not only her tomorrow but the fractures within herself that had long held her captive. The echo of the knock hung in the air, heavy and foreboding, absorbing the quiet that had settled around her thoughts. Sarah hesitated again, uncertain whether to bolt the door against the unexpected disturbance or confront whatever lay outside. Perhaps it was just a trick of her mind, a remnant of her uncertainty, but the knock felt far too symbolic. It was a reminder that life, in its unpredictable chaos, would not let her hide. With a shake of resolve, she opened the door. Nothing was there but shadows and the lingering sense of her own anxiety. She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing the silence and stillness of the moment to wrap around her like a warm blanket. Yet that warmth was deceptive. It masked the upcoming challenges that loomed just on the horizon. She wearily returned to her laptop, the source of her quiet perseverance. She felt her heart quicken, the flame of possibility flickering alive once more. Her fingers moved with renewed fervor, working through her coding exercises. Logic and structure surged through her, battling against the tempest of feelings within. Each line of code became a small act of defiance against the doubts that threatened to pull her under, but the thought of Tom's mentorship loomed larger in her mind. A mentor. What a strange concept for someone who had always navigated her journey alone. The fear crept in again, insisting she would be incapable of thriving under the guidance of someone whose world seemed galaxies away from her own. Yet was it fear speaking, or was it something deeper, an ingrained belief that she wasn't worthy of success? Reflecting on their exchange, she recalled his words, "You have potential, Sarah. Don't bury it." And yet, she could almost hear her inner critic, its voice tinged with self-doubt, echoing back, "What if you fail?" Recognition flooded her. The release of these self-imposed limitations demanded confrontation. The moment felt pivotal. Would she wallow in hesitation, or would she shield herself with courage to face a world she presumed was never meant for her? The decision to meet Tom became a catalyst for growth, a step into the unknown. As she leaned back, a sudden thought struck her. This was not just about her. Emily was watching. The little girl who looked to her as a model for perseverance was the reason she couldn't afford to falter. If she wanted to show Emily the beauty of resilience and ambition, she had to embody those qualities herself. The hours stretched into a deeper reflection, entangling herself in thoughts of past failures, the diner-esque grease clinging to memories like a stagnant odor. She had always believed that was where she belonged, as if the weight of those tiny tables and worn boots could define her future. But now, it felt as if she were on the threshold of rewriting her story. With resolute determination, she stood and looked around the empty apartment. The silence was no longer an enemy, it was a space for growth and possibilities. She would take that meeting with Tom, and she would redefine what success would mean for her and Emily. The longing to expose herself to the unknown transformed from something daunting into a doorway, one that swung wide open onto paths unexplored. As the night deepened, a sense of purpose washed over her again, and Sarah found her resolve solidifying. Yet, even as she settled into bed, the soft bedclothes wrapping around her, a flutter of apprehension persisted. The next day would not merely be about meeting Tom, it would be about confronting the very essence of what she had come to believe about herself, and as she drifted into an uneasy sleep, she felt her thoughts whirling a cacophony of hope and fear. Unbeknownst to her, an unexpected arrival waited just beyond the horizon, ready to challenge everything she thought she knew about opportunity and risk. When the sunlight pierced through her curtains, it illuminated the unmade bed, a visual reminder that she was still in a familiar space, yet the air felt charged with the promise of change. As Sarah dressed for the day, each article of clothing seemed to carry more weight than usual. The fabric laid heavy against her skin, urging her to reconsider every choice she was about to make. The vibrant hues she selected felt like armor against the mundanity she had endured for so long. Arriving at the cafe, where she'd agreed to meet Tom, she felt a swell of anxiety. The familiarity of the streets was comfortingly deceptive. They were the same ones she had walked countless times, yet today, they bore the weight of her aspirations. She ordered her usual black coffee, but the barista's friendly smile felt strained beneath her own doubts. The workshop had been just an idea, a whisper of potential, but now, it seemed immense and insurmountable. Why had she agreed to this? Was it madness to think she could learn from someone so accomplished? As she scanned the cafe, her gaze fell on Tom, seated at a table near the window. The early morning light framed him in a halo, casting shadows that accentuated the strong lines of his face. He noticed her arrival, his expression one of genuine warmth that contrasted sharply with her internal turmoil. Realizing how fundamental this meeting was, she pushed against the urge to retreat. "Sarah!" he called, beckoning her over. With each step toward him, doubt coiled tighter around her like a vice, but she could not let it show. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Tom smiled, gesturing for her to sit. "You're welcome. I was eager to hear more about your coding journey and where you want to go," he said casually, yet there was an underlying gravity in his tone. He wasn't just asking about her skills, he was probing her ambitions. His mere inquiry prompted a wave of realizations. Here was someone who had once been in her shoes, grappling with doubt. She had spent so long believing competence belonged exclusively to others. Would she continue to give that belief power? Or was it time to unearth her hidden capabilities? As she began to outline her progress, she noticed his focused gaze urging her to delve deeper. "Honestly, I thought I wouldn't have anything interesting to share," she confessed, allowing a hesitant laugh to escape. Uncertainty dripped from her words, and while it felt uncomfortable to admit, it was liberating too. "Let me tell you something," Tom said, leaning in slightly, his voice low. "Every time I felt like I didn't belong, or that my achievements were lesser than others, I learned to seek out mentorship. The key is understanding that everyone brings something unique to the table." His words struck a chord, a tempo that resonated within her. What had she felt she lacked? The confidence to actively shape her own narrative? Tom's experiences painted a vivid picture of what could await her if she leaned into her potential instead of huddling behind fear. Every success story she admired contained echoes of struggle, pivot points where doubt must have been confronted. The knowledge that Tom, too, had transformed doubt into direction was a revelation she had needed to absorb. As their conversation unfolded, Sarah's self-image began to sharpen, and the fog of uncertainty started to clear. Tom didn't just see a fledgling coder, he recognized her as an individual brimming with potential yet to be tapped into. "Do you see this your willingness to engage and seek improvement? That's what makes you a candidate for real success," he acknowledged, a note of sincerity underscoring his remarks. His encouragement flickered a new flame inside her, awakening a vision of what she could become for Emily and herself. She could transform self-doubt into determination, channeling the emotional turmoil into something constructive. Yet, even as enthusiasm began to rise within, Sarah wondered if she was truly prepared for the upcoming challenges. The reality hit her, with opportunity came risk. And she had to confront the vulnerability that lay ahead. Tomorrow held more than just mentoring, it was a potential leap into a chasm of absolute uncertainty. Just as she found her footing, the sudden vibration of her phone startled her. A message appeared on the screen from an unknown number, reading, "We need to talk. It's urgent." A pang of worry gripped her. Who could it be? As the cafe buzzed around her, she felt a drop in her stomach. Uncertainty was circling back, wanting to reclaim its hold. What was this message signaling, and how would it intersect with the new path she had begun to carve? Her gaze returned to Tom, who was lost in thought, obliviously awaiting her response. The lines of their conversation suddenly felt precarious, teetering on the brink of something more significant. What she had thought was a morning of clarity had, in a moment, become a complex web of unresolved questions and potential discord. With a hesitant breath, she prepared herself for the unexpected developments that loomed in the door to transformation. Once slightly ajar, now stood uncertainly, reflecting the tumult of her journey ahead. Would she walk through it or retreat once more into the familiar shroud of doubt? The message pulsed ominously against the still air of the cafe, demanding her attention like a siren's call to danger. Sarah glanced at Tom, who was still waiting expectantly for her to continue. A choice lay before her, as palpable as the coffee cup warming her palms. She could either draw the curtain on the new possibilities unfurling in front of her or embark on this uncertain journey with a hint of risk hovering nearby. She steeled herself against the brewing anxiety and refocused on Tom. So, you were saying about mentorship? Tom leaned back, clearly encouraged by her apparent resolve. Right. I think it's crucial to find someone who believes in you, especially when you start doubting yourself. I can help you find that person, but the first step is to lock in your commitment to this coding journey. Lock in? The words echoed in her mind like an urgent drumbeat. Was she really ready to commit to something that required relentless energy and vulnerability? Her heart raced as she weighed the urgency of the unknown number against Tom's invitation to grow. Mentorship, yes, I see the value in that, she responded, keeping her voice even though her mind was whirling. But I'd also like to hear about how you navigated your turning points. What really helped you push through those moments of doubt? Great question. I faced many setbacks. He smiled at her with a kind of understanding that wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. At one point, I almost gave up on coding altogether, feeling like it was only for geniuses. Then I came across a mentor who opened my eyes to the realistic path ahead, guiding me through the confusion and into structured learning. That's when I finally saw progress. A latent heat sprang to life within her. A mentor, someone who could unlock the door to possibilities she hadn't dared to envision. The next leap needed a platform built from support. Her phone vibrated again, the unknown number thrumming ominously in her pocket, an uninvited reminder of her lurking fears. You okay? Tom asked, tilting his head slightly. Yeah, just thinking. She forced a smile, while internally, chaos waged war with nascent determination. Clenching her coffee cup, she momentarily exhaled the currents of anxiety, visualizing them dissipating into the airy cafe. What if this message could lead to a greater lesson? An invitation to confront yet another potential barrier? Okay, Tom. I want to commit to this, she declared, words pooling with fresh determination in her throat. My coding journey, I mean. I can't keep lingering in the shadows of self-doubt. Tom's eyes brightened, a spark igniting between them. That's fantastic, Sarah. You're taking a crucial step by making that declaration. Now it's about consistent effort. What kind of project do you want to pursue next week? Even as excitement bubbled up, Sarah felt the phone's vibration relentlessly reminding her of her anxieties. There had to be a connection. Was this urgent message a test, signaling that change was necessary and unavoidable? Excuse me, I need to check something, Sarah said, and the curiosity turned into a compulsive necessity as she pulled her phone from her pocket. She had to confront whatever shadow lurked behind the unknown number. The first words on the screen sent a jolt through her. It concerns Emily. You need to listen closely. A rush of concern twisted her gut, eclipsing the exhilaration from earlier. Thoughts raced. What did this mean? What's the matter? Thomas' concerned expression pierced through the chaos in her head. Swallowing hard, she met his gaze, her expression morphing into something resolute. It could be about my daughter. The urgency flooded her words, a stark realization slicing through her new burgeoning ambitions. His supportive demeanor shifted to one of understanding, sensing the rising stakes. Take your time. Do what you need to do, he said, his voice steady. She glanced back at the screen, weighing the cost of diving into the unknown. A crossroads had revealed itself, a decision that would change everything yet again. With her heart pounding, Sarah glanced up at Tom, determination mingling with unease. The fear of what was unfolding danced in tandem with the commitment she was preparing to honor. The moment felt pivotal, yet uncertain. Could she manage the dual realities of a career and motherhood? What was coming next threatened to shift the ground beneath her emerging confidence, casting shadows just as she began to step into the light. As she tapped the screen to reply, Sarah felt an inkling of clarity whispering through the bewilderment. Would she rise to the challenge, or would this turn of events derail her journey once more? The answer hovered tantalizingly close, waiting to unveil itself just beyond the next moment. Sarah's fingers trembled slightly as she began typing a response to the unknown number. The words formed slowly, each letter carrying a weight that mirrored her swirling emotions. "What about Emily?" she typed, pressing send with a quick flick of her thumb, her heart pounding in her chest. A momentary silence settled around her as she glanced at Tom, who watched her intently, concern etching his features. While she waited for a reply, Sarah felt the urgency of the moment expand around her like an uncontainable force. A sense of responsibility washed over her. Being a mother not only defined her but demanded her unwavering attention. Could she balance this potential new path with the gravity of what seemed to be a crisis concerning Emily? The push and pull of her dual commitments clawed at her psyche. Tom cleared his throat, snapping her out of her reverie. "Sarah, it's okay to take a moment. This journey you're embracing at LL come with its own unexpected turbulence. Just remember, each choice you make is not just about the project, it's about the person you want to become." His words resonated deeply, reigniting her desire for growth intertwined with the instinctual need to protect her daughter. A fiery determination bubbled within her, igniting her instinct to confront the challenge at hand. "You're right," she replied, her voice steadier now. "Maybe I can use this situation with Emily to motivate myself. Really show what I'm made of." The phone buzzed again, jolting her thoughts. She glanced down at the screen, her gaze snapping to the new message, "Emily has troubled school issues. We need to talk." The message felt stark against the backdrop of her dreams. In that moment, reality clawed its way forward, thrusting her deepest fears into the spotlight of her consciousness. "Everything okay?" Tom edged closer, a subtle shift reflecting his unwavering support. The sincerity in his eyes reminded her that she was not alone in her journey. Mentorship was not about simply getting help but also about gaining strength through shared experiences. Taking a deep breath, Sarah made a decision. "I need to prioritize this," she murmured, a steely resolve settling in her chest. "But I also refuse to step back from my commitment to coding." Juggling both would be inevitable, but perhaps that was exactly what she needed to drive her forward. Tom nodded slowly, as if absorbing not only her words but also her unyielding spirit. That's the kind of mindset that fuels growth. You can navigate both worlds. But it will demand more than just commitment, you'll need strategies. Planning will be key. Let us brainstorm a project that could fit around your dynamics with Emily, something you're passionate about. Suddenly, a flicker of inspiration surged through her. If she could create something meaningful in her coding journey that would also resonate with motherhood, perhaps it could transform the narrative not just for her but for Emily as well. Could she develop an educational app that catered to young learners, perhaps something fun yet impactful that could support her daughter's schooling? An app, Sarah breathed, her thoughts quickening. An educational tool where kids can learn coding concepts through play. Interactive challenges that could really help with their growth and confidence. The spark of an idea brightened her brow, and she could practically envision the lines of code. Each segment would not only connect her professional aspirations but also her personal goals as a mom. "Exactly!" Tom exclaimed, visibly excited. "That blends your new commitment and personal values beautifully. Plus, it makes your coding journey impactful. What's the first step you think you'd need to take?" Before she could respond, a sudden clang interrupted them. In that split second, her phone vibrated again. Another message flashed, "We need to talk soon, this could get complicated." Her heart sank momentarily as guilt fought against ambition. Just as she began to feel a sense of control over her future, the looming uncertainty of her daughter's struggles threatened to destabilize it. Determined to face whatever might come, Sarah swallowed hard and grasped her phone tighter as if it meant grounding herself in this burgeoning mission. Time to take a deeper dive, she asserted to Tom, feeling a rush of adrenaline surge behind her words. She would navigate this labyrinth and rise to the occasion that life was demanding of her, yet within that determination began a new question. With Emily's troubles amplifying alongside her professional ambitions, the web of challenges only tightened. Would her dual choices lead her toward greater clarity or bind her to doubt? The only way forward was through, but would she emerge whole, or would the fractures of conflicting roles unravel her newfound resolve? Sarah's mind raced as she processed the implications of the latest message. The discomfort of guilt twisted in her stomach, challenging the newfound determination to create and innovate. Could she really juggle Emily's looming school issues with the ambitious plans for her educational app? I need to establish a timeline, she said abruptly, shaking herself out of her mental spiral. I can't control what's happening with Emily right now, but I can start outlining this app. That feels manageable. Her voice trembled but steadied under the weight of her assertion. A blend of resolve and anxiety mingled in her chest as she sought to channel her feelings into something productive. Tom watched her, his expression a mixture of admiration and caution. You need to be careful not to overcommit. Start small. It's easy to get lost in a project when your mind is also occupied with personal matters. How about setting aside specific time slots for coding and for Emily? She nodded slowly, grateful for his guidance yet feeling the familiar instinct to revert to self-reliance. The thought of Emily made her hesitant. But what if I miss something important with her? What if she needs me more than I can give? Then you will adapt. You've already shown that you're capable of adjusting. Look at how you decided to embrace coding at this stage in your life. He leaned forward, eyes both serious and encouraging. This is all about prioritizing and being present. True progress doesn't mean sacrificing one for the other. As if a dam had burst, Sarah felt the ideas flow again. Shifting gears, she asked, what about hosting some initial workshops? I could gather the basics I wanted to include in the app and engage with potential users through their parents. Getting input might help me shape what I create. Look at you, already strategizing ahead, Tom replied with a proud smile. The more insight you can gather, the more focused your development will be. Tell me, what else can you bring to this workshop concept? Flashes of creativity ignited in her mind. She imagined a casual atmosphere where kids could freely explore coding, much like the way she once explored math in her college days, hands-on and intimate. Gamification. I could rely on simple games to keep them engaged. If they can see coding not just as a skill but as something fun, they might grasp the concepts better. Her pulse quickened as the idea coalesced into a more solid plan. She felt momentum build inside her, a far cry from her earlier chaos. And maybe I can outline what I want my app to eventually offer in terms of learning paths. I could create a mock-up of simple challenges for them to tackle. Tom beamed, but a shadow flickered across his face as he continued to judge her energy levels with caution. I can help you with that. Making mock-ups won't just further your project but will also give you clarity on what you really want to accomplish. Yeah, she breathed deeply, allowing tentative excitement to wash over her. That sounds amazing. I can get to work on it right away. Just as she felt the atmosphere shift toward a more productive tone, a notification sound from her phone cut sharply through their dialogue. Talk to me, the message read. This could affect your future plans. Her heart skipped again. The words felt heavy, charged with uncertainty. It's about Emily, isn't it? She whispered, but Tom directed her focus back to the task ahead. Responding might help ease your mind. But remember, this is about clarity and managing what you need to do to feel secure in both worlds, professional and personal. Taking a deep breath, Sarah hesitated over her phone, the weight of her dual pressures pulling her two ways. Should she confront this now, or lean into her growing project? The moment stretched thin before her. The choice loomed, sharp and defining. With every tick, she felt the junction of instincts pulling her apart. Should she soothe her mother's heart or propel her creative aspirations? Which path would best guide her through this turbulent phase? An impulsive reply or a decisive step into her vision? The clock ticked ominously, heightening her uncertainty. She had to decide not just for herself but also for Emily. As the future grew murkier, so did her realization that true growth often lay behind daunting choices, and with that, a new revelation began to claw its way into her mind. Maybe the tension between her roles wasn't a barrier, but a canvas on which she could paint a new narrative. But in the shadows lay the question: could she skillfully navigate the timing of both her passions and responsibilities without losing herself along the way? Sarah stared at her phone as the message lingered in her mind, anticipation mixing with anxiety. She inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of the decision hovering above her like a storm cloud. Her instinct screamed to respond, to reassure, yet the burgeoning excitement of her project pulled her in another direction. Could she truly balance these diverging paths? "I can guide you through this," Tom said, breaking her reverie. His words grounded her, pulling her back from the precipice of worry. Set clear goals for your app and time blocks for each responsibility. Creating that structure could ease your mind about Emily. Structure, she mulled over the term, weighing it against her chaotic thoughts. Yes, maybe creating a schedule could give me the clarity I need. I can outline my development tasks during Emily's school hours, and then focus fully on her afterward. As the concept of her schedule began to crystallize, she felt a flicker of empowerment. It was a comforting thought, an actionable plan amidst her swirling chaos. "Would you be available to help me draft like a first draft of sorts?" she asked, a hopeful tone creeping into her voice. There was something about working alongside Tom that brought her comfort. "Absolutely. Let us see what we can create together," he replied, enthusiasm lighting up his features. The moment lightened, though the message from earlier still flickered in her mind as a shadow. "All right, I'll respond to that text after we outline the app. It can't be that pressing, right?" she concluded, trying to convince herself. She pulled her notebook closer, feeling the pages crinkle under her touch. Beginning with a brainstorm felt necessary. Words flowed out, features she envisioned, essential code components, the gamified elements that would entertain and educate. The room filled with her excitement, each word a brick adding to the infrastructure of her dream. "Remember," Tom advised as she wrote fervently, "keep it specific. What is the purpose behind each feature?" She paused, considering the essence behind her app. Engagement. "I want these kids to not see coding as a burden but rather as a liberating skill, something they can play with. If they enjoy it, they'll want to learn more." Tom nodded, impressed. "That's a strong foundation. You're defining your vision." The deeper she dived into defining her goals, the more secure she felt in her passion. Emerging from beneath the layers of worry, she dedicated several hours to the mock-up, allowing her mind to drift into a world where creativity ruled without the looming shadows of responsibility. But abruptly, another thought intruded: Emily. Can I really pull this off? The uncertainty prickled at her optimism, like a small thorn she couldn't ignore. "Of course, you can," Tom reassured, sensing the shift in her demeanor. "You've already shown remarkable resolve transforming your career. This journey isn't just yours, it's also Emily's. You're positioning yourself to create opportunities for both of you." That notion settled within her, warmth pooling at the base of her chest. Her dreams could benefit her daughter just as much as her own aspirations. But gripping that thought was the growing unease about her daughter's challenges. Then, the phone buzzed again, demanding her immediate attention. Her heart raced as she glanced at the screen. The message trail indicated an urgent follow-up, and the anxiety that coursed through her seemed insurmountable. "What if?" "Respond," Tom urged gently. "Facing it may yield clarity." She hesitated, biting her lip. The potential ramifications of ignoring it weighed on her conscience. But could openness also be a pathway toward progress? Contemplating the balance between her workload and her daughter felt almost overwhelming again. "Maybe this is the test," Sarah whispered, her mind swirling. The moment to confront both roles as equally important. With trembles in her fingertips, she finally pressed the screen, ready to brave the turbulent waters of her reality. As she hit send, a surge of fear and resolution filled her, the commitment to face both. her personal fears and professional ambitions growing taut within her. What awaited her could shift everything, a future she could not quite see yet but wanted deeply to chase. But as uncertainties lingered on the horizon, the push towards both sustainability and brilliance beckoned her to move forward, undeterred. Little did she know, a clash was approaching that could redefine the path she envisioned. With her heart racing, Sarah suddenly recognized something far more pressing. Her real battle was about to begin. What could this unexpected call unravel in her life? The transformation was just at its inception, teetering on the brink of change. In the stillness of the afternoon, Sarah sat at her desk, a whirlwind of thoughts competing for her attention. The message she sent hung in the air, unanswered, while the vibrant ideas for her app unfolded before her. With Tom by her side, the weight of her self-doubt, though not removed, felt less oppressive. Perhaps, working on this project together was the beginning of something monumental, not only for her career but also for the relationship she hoped to cultivate with Emily. Yet, the inevitability of Emily's struggles gnawed at her resolve. Sarah blankly stared at her notebook, each outline and schematic serving as both a promise and a reminder of the time she was spending away from her daughter. She often wrestled with the sensation of splitting her devotion. Was she making a better life for Emily, or was she simply making excuses to chase her own aspirations? The guilt ebbed and flowed like a tide, and as the burden rose, she struggled to keep her thoughts anchored. "Let us take a break," Tom suggested gently. He stood to stretch, breaking the spell of intensity that had gripped the room. "How about we step outside?" The idea of fresh air made sense to her. Nature had a way of providing clarity even in moments of chaos. They stepped into the crisp afternoon sun, the warmth washing over them like a soft embrace. As they walked along the gravel path behind her house, the events of the past few weeks played out in her mind like a montage. Each moment weighed heavy with the push and pull of her dual existence, mother and entrepreneur. "Sometimes taking a step back helps you see the bigger picture," Tom remarked casually, his voice breaking into her reverie. "I know I need to trust myself more," Sarah replied, frustration creeping into her voice. "But I can't shake the anxiety that Emily needs me at home. Could it be that this project is part of what she really needs from you?" he asked, a calculated calm in his tone. "As you pursue your passions, you're teaching her its importance. She'll learn that pursuing a dream is a worthwhile endeavor." His words lingered like the warmth of the sun, stirring something deep within her. For once, the notion that she could be paving a path for Emily's future felt less like a burden and more like a shared journey. Could her pursuits ignite a fire in Emily's heart, just as it had in hers? The conversation shifted, moving from hypothetical to tangible as they considered concrete steps for the app. Tom encouraged her to envision audience engagement, prompting her to focus on how children would interact with her design. Every question he posed helped refine her vision, steering her toward clarity. By the time they returned indoors, Sarah felt invigorated, the path ahead outlined distinctly in her mind. Those flickers of creativity surged forth, guiding her back to her notebook. She began to jot down firm targets, able to see not only tasks but goals that lined up with both her ambitions and motherhood. "Let us set a timeline," Tom said, watching her enthusiasm rekindle as they leaned over the mock-ups. "If we create milestones, you'll have measurable progress and less uncertainty. This can turn into something incredible." "Right," she nodded, ideas coalescing rapidly. With renewed purpose, they crafted a mini roadmap. Dedicated hours were illustrated graphically, revealing where her responsibilities lay and time she could spend with Emily practically plotted. "The urgency of your daughter's needs does not diminish the significance of your aspirations," Tom summarized, layering his input with a supportive tone. But just as momentum built, uncertainty began to seep back in. Sarah's phone buzzed again, this time with a familiar name: her mother. Their relationship had been fraught for years, marred by misunderstandings and judgment. As she stared at the screen, a familiar pang of apprehension set in. "Now what?" she muttered to herself, a direct confrontation with her past hanging awkwardly in the room. "Who is it?" Tom asked, narrowing his gaze at her hesitation. "It's my mother," Sarah replied, voice trembling slightly. Would this trigger only further distraction? Or was it an opportunity for resolution? The idea elicited another wave of anxiety. "I can't answer that now, I'm too focused on this." Are you sure? He prodded gently. Could it be time to face another reality? Sarah felt the walls of her life press in. Refusing to confront her mother would feel like another failure, a replication of past habits. Yet diving into that conversation threatened to pull her under at a time when she needed clarity more than ever. The tension crackled in the air, each unspoken word heavy with the possibility of revelation. What awaited on the other end of the line could either resolve or complicate her already tangled emotional path. Would she find the courage to tackle both her professional drive and long-standing familial issues? The moment beckoned, charged with anticipation, just as uncertainty loomed larger. What kind of response could Sarah summon from that call? In confronting her fears, would she discover even more about herself, or would it unravel the stride she'd begun to make? The phone call lingered in the air, a tension-filled pause that seemed to stretch infinitely. Sarah's hand tightened around the device, a battleground for conflicting emotions. Could she truly confront the past while forging her future? Then she recalled Tom's words, every moment held possibility. Just answer it, she whispered to herself, feeling a surge of determination. Her heart raced as she accepted the call, breathing deep to steady her resolve. Hello? Sarah? It's your mother, the voice cracked, layered with apprehension. The knot in Sarah's stomach tightened, but she met the conversation head-on, ready for whatever might unfold. Hi, Mom. What's going on? A silence hung between them before her mother finally spoke, her voice still laced with hesitation. I heard about Emily. Is she okay? Emily's fine, Sarah asserted, a protective edge emerging. What do you want to talk about? I just wanted to reach out. I've been thinking about you both, and I want to help. I know things haven't been easy between us, but maybe we could work on that. For the first time, Sarah felt the weight of long-buried resentment shift, a faint hope blossoming amidst the tension. Okay, she replied, her tone even yet cautious. Let's talk. As the conversation progressed, vulnerabilities began to surface on both sides. Their discussions carved space for understanding, slowly dismantling that wall built over years of misunderstandings. With every shared revelation, Sarah felt a release of old burdens, discovering that confronting her mother did not diminish her strength, but rather fortified it. Mom, I'm working on something big, Sarah shared, buoyed by newfound clarity. It's an educational app for kids. I want to set a better example for Emily. I want her to see that it's okay to chase your dreams. The silence from the other end spoke volumes. That sounds incredible. I never thought you'd take that step. Me neither, Sarah replied softly, holding her ground with burgeoning pride. But fear was suffocating me. What can I do to support you? Her mother asked genuinely. The sincerity in her mother's voice twinkled through the fog of their past. Just being here is enough, Sarah admitted, her voice steady. Being open. After the call ended, an unexpected sense of lightness floated through her mind and heart. She realized that instead of shying away, she defaced her fears and, in turn, empowered herself to move toward her goals. In the same moment, she recognized how vital that connection could be as her project unfolded. Tom looked on with an approving smile, sensing the shift within her. See? That wasn't so hard, was it? Sarah chuckled lightly, energizing the room. Actually? No. I feel lighter. As adrenaline coursed through her, she returned to her mock-ups and proposals, thoughts racing and ideas blooming with unprecedented clarity. It was time to shape those initial dreams into tangible stepping stones. It was time to present Emily with back-to-back representations of resilience, her mother embodying exploration through coding while overcoming personal hurdles. Tom, noticing the spark return to her, offered guidance. Let us outline a basic plan. What do you want to accomplish this week? By the end of the week, I want to design an interactive prototype for the app, Sarah declared, her confidence soaring. It should showcase how children can learn coding through games. Sounds ambitious. Tom remarked, excitement in his voice. Ambitious, yes. But I believe it's possible. Those words rang true. Each new page, every line of documentation, transformed with her excitement. She was no longer just a single mother tethered to the past. She was a growing coder, a mother pioneering her path through a chaotic world, standing as an emblem of hope for Emily. As days rolled into a flurry of commitment and creativity, Sarah found herself immersed in rapid development, navigating her responsibilities with newfound success. Every hour spent on her mock-up bridged her ambitions with motherhood, leading her to create an engaging, educational resource grounded in her love for Emily. After unfolding her app draft, Sarah discerned authentic growth. She had conquered self-doubt, shifting from fear to clarity while building a space where her daughter could thrive. Finally, after sleepless nights filled with code and possibilities, the day arrived for Sarah to present her prototype to Tom. As she sat in the conference room, her heart thrummed with nervous excitement. They engaged over the intricacies of her work, feedback rolled in tandem with admiration. "I'm incredibly proud of what you've produced, Sarah," Tom acknowledged, a big smile lighting up his features. "This has a real chance to make a difference. It's professional, engaging, and does exactly what you set out to do." Those words wrapped around her heart, solidifying the journey she had courageously embarked upon. The final piece of recognition came as Tom introduced her to the broader team, giving her the platform to discuss her project. With every sentence delivered, Sarah's voice grew robust and assured. She realized this moment was not just about showcasing her app, it was about claiming her place, acknowledging the stride she had taken toward becoming a role model for Emily, and proving to herself that she belonged in the tech world. By the end of her presentation, applause resonated around the room, a palpable affirmation of her transformation. For the first time, Sarah recognized her achievements were not solely defined by her roles but were carved from bravery, the courage to step forward, challenge norms, and embrace possibilities. Reflecting on the last few weeks, she saw not only her professional evolution but a radical personal change. Sarah had emerged as a fountain of integrity and passion instead of fear and doubt. She had built a bridge not only to her dreams but also to a better life for Emily, who now saw her mother as a beacon of strength. With a profound sense of fulfillment wrapping around her, Sarah understood she had conquered long-standing insecurities. She now stood solidly on her own 2 feet, assured of her worth. In that revelatory moment, it dawned on her, true success is not a destination but a continual journey. A journey she was ready to embrace wholeheartedly, and now was the moment for you to embrace your own journey. If you want stories that inspire, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately to catch the next exclusive episode of Emotional Transformation. Leave a like right now to support the algorithm that connects you to these life-changing narratives. Comment below your thoughts and reactions about Sarah's incredible journey and where you see her heading next. Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this empowering conclusion.